Hi, I'm Stacey.
And I'm Maggie. In this presentation, we're going to talk about the chemical biological agent transport kits, often referred to as BAT kits.
This chemical biological transport device should be used if you find a suspicious substance and you would like to send it to the Department of Health for testing.
And is a very important part of that process, prior to collecting or submitting a sample into the State Health Department, it's important for someone in the field to contact North Dakota State Radio at 1-800-472-2121. Ask for the Health Department's case manager. State Radio will contact our on-call case manager who will reach back to you by phone. This conversation will be important to start documenting the sample that you will be collecting with this transport kit.
These kits can be used to collect an unknown specimen, either chemical or biological. Over the course of this video, we'll be going through the entire contents of the kit and giving you an idea of what to expect when you open the kits, how to document things properly, and run through the process of collection.
Our BAT kits are intended for use with collecting samples of possible threatening substances. If you have clinical or other samples, there are other methodologies for collecting and transporting those.
Before each kit leaves the North Dakota Public Health Lab, the top is secured into place utilizing a zip tie to indicate that the container has not been opened since it was sealed at the Public Health Laboratory in Bismarck. The first thing we need to do when we are getting ready to collect a sample for transportation to the laboratory in Bismarck is to double check that the zip tie is still on the container. The bucket should remain sealed until it is used during the sample collection process. This is important because we'll indicate that on our chain of custody form later in our documentation process. The next thing we would like to do is go over the contents of the kit. Inside, you are going to find that there are 3 packages: a hot zone, a cold zone, and a warm zone, in accordance with the hazmat procedure. The hot zone is the immediate area where your specimen may be found. A warm zone is a transition area where the decontamination process would take place. And the cold zone is the clean area.
For the purpose of this video, we have a container with the zip tie already removed. The container lids are secured by a locking mechanism located here. We open the container by squeezing the little red device and sliding counterclockwise. When you open the BAT kit B bucket, you will find a Ziploc bag labeled cold zone and a smaller bucket labeled A. The cold zone Ziploc bag contains 3 items. The first item is the instructions for use of the BAT kit. On this sheet of paper, you'll see a complete list of contents of this kit. There's a sampling preparation area, and then on the back side, color-coded, we have instructions for what needs to take place in the hot zone in red, the warm zone in yellow, and the cold zone in blue.
The last item you'll find in the bag labeled cold zone is a piece of evidence tape that will be used to secure the B bucket prior to transport. Use the instruction sheet to verify that each of the items that are supposed to be in the hot zone packet, the warm zone packet, and the cold zone packet are there.
One product that you aren't going to have in your BAT kit is a decontamination solution. We would recommend you use 10% bleach, and you're going to need to make this fresh because after 24 hours, it will no longer be effective. A good practice that we recommend is to mark your decontamination solution bottles with the level of agent that you want to add. We're going to add 1 part of bleach to 9 parts of water. This 10% solution of chlorine bleach is primarily intended for work with containing biological agents.
Let's assume with this kit that everything was found to be intact. So the very next thing we need to do is move immediately to start preparing the chain of custody form. This form is also found in your cold zone packet. Fill out the name of the person collecting the sample, indicate that the bucket was intact and the zip tie was not broken.
The smaller bucket, bucket A, contains the warm zone and hot zone kits. Each package is labeled. The hot zone kit includes specimen containers and the tools required for collection. The warm zone kit contains an evidence bag, a permanent marker, a cardboard cylinder, and a second strip of evidence tape for use with the A bucket. Prior to entering the warm zone, use the permanent marker from the warm zone kit to label the collection containers you will be using. Date and initial the top of the cardboard cylinder and the evidence tape. Sign and date the evidence bag. Enter the name of the person performing the collection and the collection date but leave time-sealed blank until the specimen is collected and sealed in the bag.
Do not fill in the nature of the sample, even if you think you know what it might be, until the sample has been collected and you know what is being sent to the lab in Bismarck. Each evidence bag has a unique control number on the body of the bag and on a tear strip. This evidence bag control number must be entered into the appropriate box on the chain of custody form, and the tearaway strip may be removed from the top of the bag and given to the local incident commander.
In the hot zone package, there are several items that you may not need for every type of sample collection. The spatulas provided in your hot zone kit may be used to collect a solid or powder specimen. There are 2 different tips to choose from on this spatula depending on the type of specimen you have and how it's dispersed. If you have a liquid specimen, use the pipette to aspirate the liquid. The jar is used to collect solid or powder substances as well as liquids. Collect enough specimen until the jar is half full if possible, but we would take whatever you can get.
For a powdered substance that you are unable to pick up with a spatula, for instance, a powder dispersed over an area on a flat surface, use the swab transport kit that's also included in your hot zone pack. The kit includes a phosphate buffered solution and some sterile swabs to collect a powder. Pre-moisten the swab in the phosphate buffer and slightly wring it out with the side of the tube. Use this pre-moistened swab to roll over the area contaminated with the powder. Collect enough so that when you put the swab into the phosphate buffer and break it off, the fluid turns slightly turbid. If you find that after collecting one swab it isn't turbid enough, use the other swab to collect additional material. Leave the swabs in the buffer.
You will need 2 containers of decontamination solution. One of these 2 containers will go into the hot zone to decontaminate the sample container. The other bottle will be used in the warm zone to decontaminate the outside of the A bucket after the sample has been added to the bucket.
Before going into the hot zone, prep the sample container in the cold zone. Remove the jar from the wrapper. This has been autoclaved and sealed by the laboratory, so we know it's sterile. Remember, the person collecting the specimen should be initially in the outside of the container.
It is important to remember, before you start to collect your specimen, do not wet the powder with anything. Don't apply any decontamination solution because this would render the sample unusable for testing. To prevent additional dispersal of the suspicious substance, wet towels with disinfectant and place them over the spill. This will decrease the aerosols that you might produce.
Once the sample has been collected, decontaminated, and transferred to the warm zone, you can complete the time and description fields on the evidence bag. Decontaminate the evidence bag and place it into the A container. Secure the lid and decontaminate the outside of the A container. Then apply the evidence tape. The container can now be transferred to the cold zone and placed in the larger B bucket. Immediately secure the lid of the B bucket. Date and initial the evidence tape from the cold zone kit and apply it to the lid of the bucket. Complete the chain of custody form. This will accompany the bucket during transportation.
Deliver the BAT kit and chain of custody form to the west entrance of the microbiology lab at 2635 East Main Avenue in Bismarck. Lab personnel will meet the transporter outside and provide further instructions. Once the kit has been screened for radiation, the lab will take custody of the specimen and the transporter will be released.
Thank you for your time. We hope that through this video you've been able to see the use of our biological and chemical agent transport kits. We also want to remind you once again that in the event of a possible biological or chemical terrorism scenario, the very first step is to call state radio and ask for the health department's case manager. That phone call will start the process of properly documenting the sample and preparing the health department laboratory for receipt of that sample.